Okay, so we're going to give you a little awareness practice to help with an anterior shift in the pelvis. And this is something we might tell you to go search for in our video library if we're working with you manually on the table or if we're training you in movement. So a common pattern in our bodies when we become disorganized or when our relationship with gravity becomes disorganized is to shift our pelvis in front of the center of gravity, changing our center of gravity. So loading a body this way is super stressful on the backs of the knees, low back. Lots of issues crop up because of an anteriorly shifted pelvis. So in our practice, we commonly ask people to do things to challenge that and to see what it might feel like to have a pelvis that's more balanced over the center of your feet. So here's some things you can do to challenge yourself in that way. So first, to test to see if you have an anterior pelvis. If you're working barefoot, this part of this practice might be a little bit easier, but you can just lift your toes up and then place them back down. This is really subtle, but if you exaggerate it by letting your pelvis shift forward and then lift your toes up, you might feel that your pelvis does this sort of gradual shift back over your feet. So that's the first piece. Exaggerate your anterior shift and then lift your toes up and feel your pelvis shifting back over the center of your feet. The other thing you can do is work with, we call it drawing a circle on the ceiling with your head as if you're a pencil. So this is the pencil exercise. This is kind of pulled from some Feldenkrais type work, although we are not doing Feldenkrais work right here. It's kind of based in that work. You can pretend that you are a pencil and that your only joint is your ankles. So we want to try to draw a circle on the ceiling with the top of our head, the crown of our head. So facing you, that might look like this. And notice that there's no break here in my rib cage. If you want to do that kind of work, you can watch Callie's video on differentiating the ribs from the pelvis. That's not what we're doing. We want to keep all this stable. I'm not moving my hips around, right? One joint at the ankles is moving as I draw a circle on the ceiling. So try that a few times, shifting to this corner of your feet, and then the front of your feet on your toes, and then this corner of your feet, and then the back of the right heel, and then both heels, the back of the left heel, and just kind of see where in that circle start to play with, okay, where is that circle looking more like a square, which is probably where you need help with your balance. Okay, so that's all drawing a circle on the ceiling. Another little thing to think about is keep your feet completely planted on the floor for this. So both the big toe ball and the little toe ball and the heels of each foot are glued to the ground as you're doing this. Shifting. Then, how does this relate to a forward shift in the pelvis? So draw your circle and then shift to the front of that circle as far as you comfortably can without falling over. So that's an anterior shift. Then shift to the back of the circle as far as you can without falling back. And then just shift just forward of that, right? So shift as far back as you can without falling over, and then shift forward of that. And then right in front of that space is probably for you where your pelvis is centered over your feet. So quick review. You can just stand, exaggerate the shift forward in the pelvis, lift the toes, and feel the hips come back. Again, stand, exaggerate the pelvic shift, lift your toes, and feel your hips come back. That's the first part of this exercise. Second part, Act like you're a pencil with your only joint in your ankles. Draw a circle. And then draw a circle the other way. Your only joint is in your ankles. The third part is, in that circle, shift really far forward, like you feel like you're about to fall forward. And then shift really far back, as if you were about to fall back. And then just shift right in front of that space. And you'll feel really centered in your pelvis. So use this exercise to experiment with pelvic shift and try on another place for your pelvis, a better relationship with gravity maybe.